You have one of your first ones already here on stage, and I think it's up to you just to introduce the other ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrice. Before we start, just a quick show of hands for us, me and the panelists. Who of you is actually using a wearable? Please raise your hand. Wow, okay, so it's almost 3/4 of the whole audience. So we keep on talking about data and tracking and wearables and the future. And I would like to ask on stage my next panelist, Lina Wüller, the founder of Ovi, Srsen, the founder of Bellabeat, and Eric, you're already here. You're the founder of Motiv. Just to give you some numbers on actually how big the market is, the expected revenue in the wearables market worldwide is about 12 billion euros for this year, with a growth in revenue of 4% until 2022. So this means it's a pretty big and stable market, and most of the money is being spent in China. Market leaders are, of course, Apple with the Apple Watch, followed by Xiaomi, Fitbit, Huawei, and Garmin. So let's start with the discussion. Hello, everybody. I would like to ask you in the beginning to please introduce yourself and the product, and more importantly, tell us what the value is of for the people that use your wearable. Urska.
Hi, my name is Urska, and I'm the co-founder of Bellabeat. And Bellabeat is a brand that creates fashionable tech-powered wellness tools for women and tries to inspire women to achieve better well-being so that they can focus on everything else in their life and achieve everything they want. So today I have with me actually 3 of our products. Leaf is our health tracking jewelry line, which helps women to track their activity, sleep, meditations. In the app, they also log their reproductive cycle and get stress predictions. So it was basically the first wearable that was not just designed specifically for women in terms of form factor, but also in terms of functionalities, and is focusing on body and mind as one, not just on fitness performance. And then I have Spring, which is our smart water bottle that helps you automatically track your water, daily water intake. So every time you put it down, it recognizes how much water you've drank, and it also has gesture recognition algorithms to know when you've been drinking. And through that, it helps you create healthy drinking patterns. And then I'm also wearing Whisper, which is part of our wellness, tech-powered wellness experience program. And with Whisper, you get the full experience of our meditation exercises in the app. So basically, we're focusing on women only, because when we started, we noticed that women were widely overlooked as users of health tech, and that there is a necessity to bring all the tracking together into one system created for them, where they can get an overview of their health instead of using several different apps to get what they need.
Thank you. Lina?
Hi everyone, my name is Lina, and I co-founded Ovi with my sister Eva 2 years ago. We are actually in a similar area, a little bit more specific than Bellabeat. So basically what we did, we developed a cycle app and connected our app to a Bluetooth thermometer. So women can track their reproductive health, including the fertile window, the day of ovulation, and their next period. On top of that, we tracked a lot of data within the last year, and we figured out what women really needed throughout their cycle, and that is how we came up with an extended product range, which we actually introduced today here at the conference.
And I have to add that both of you have a booth here, so if you're still around and want to check out these devices, please feel free to go over there and test it yourself if you're a woman. Eric, what makes Motiv so special and valuable?
Well, I think that all 3 of the companies here represent a new direction for wearables. I think actually it's interesting, because when I first saw Bellabeat, I was thinking that was something that really inspired a lot of people to think beyond what wearables were. I think it was one of the first products that really thought through what it takes to be a wearable in the fashion sense. And so I think that stands out in anything you're going to wear on your body all the time. And so what we try to do is miniaturize it and make it something that, for us, it was more about what you could wear on your finger. And just the size itself was the biggest challenge for us.
I'll come back to that later again. I kind of have the feeling that the market of wearables is very oversaturated. So I kind of lose track of what's like the best wristband to wear, what's the best tracker. So what is like, how do you distinguish Motiv from other companies like Ringly or Wüller who are out there?
So one thing that I would say about anyone who's doing finger technology is it's an industry in itself. And the components that we're using are, like I said, not found readily. So I think we're all trying to come up with our own systems that work, and it's a very competitive market. The wearable space, everyone's trying to get a piece of it, and hardware, as you know, is very difficult. What differentiates us is really what's going on the back end of the data that we collect. We're the only one that's doing active heart rate. And so being able to do a run, get that data, and then be able to transport that data into other apps and be able to do that in a way that really allows for the user to have an experience that's holistic across other devices and other apps as well is really what our focus is. We like to have people use our app, but we also like to make that data available through HealthKit and Google Fit and other apps that are connected to that ecosystem.
Lina, what distinguishes Ovi from Clue, for example?
Well, we actually decided to build our own hardware. So it's actually not a wearable, which we have, but a thermometer, because when you track your basal temperature, it's necessary to track your temperature right after you wake up. And that is something which you don't need necessarily to do with a tracker. So actually, we were like thinking about building one, but then it was for us the decision to just do like a normal basal thermometer, which we connected to the app. Yeah, I mean, the market is very busy when it comes to femtech, and you can not only see it in Germany, but also across the borders, which is great because there are 3.5 billion women out there, and they are all affected by reproductive health 1/3 of their lives. So by the time they get their period until they start their menopause, and in this time they have to make up their mind if they want to have a baby or if they want to prevent pregnancy. And we currently targeting both target groups, so we're helping like women who want to have a baby and women who don't want to have a baby, because what they need to know is the day they ovulate, and that's what we offer. And how we differentiate ourselves from other competitors is actually the hardware right now, and we make the whole tracking more effective, very easy, and very efficient for them.
Probably more reliable, I think.
Yes, also because you don't really make mistakes by entering like your data manually. You know, in the morning when you're not really like woken up properly, then you make mistakes, and that is something we avoid by connecting the device to the smartphone.
Urska?
Yeah, so I think in general, I think the wearable market or the health tracking market might be less saturated than it seems, because it's just now that wearables and health tech is going mainstream. So it was previously mostly limited to fitness tech, so fitness performance, but now it's basically going wider, and it's part of the wellness market, which is much bigger than just fitness, or I mean, it's going also into payments, like you were talking earlier. So there's huge potential in this kind of technology, and what we've seen so far is that one doesn't fit all, so it's kind of transforming into fashion almost. So when we're building Bellabeat, we try to see it as a lifestyle brand first. So first we focus on the brand and try to convey the message, try to inspire our users through the brand, and then use technology to create wellness experiences for them. So we're not necessarily focusing just on wearable technology, we're trying to make ordinary products extraordinary. So we power objects that our users are already using for their wellness or achieving better well-being, and power them with technology to get the data into our system. And then we're using that data to build something much bigger for them, not just the experience, but actually transformative guidance towards well-being.
And probably design also played like a special role while developing these products, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we always put a lot of thought into designing our products so that they're not intrusive to your everyday whatever you're doing or your style even. So when we designed the Leaf, we were thinking a lot about the wearable, not just like the prettiness, like the aesthetics, so that it looks like jewelry, but the wearability as well. So leaf can be worn as a bracelet or a necklace or a clip, because we have a lot of users that are doctors, nurses, cooks that can't wear anything on their hands most of the day, or users that just don't feel comfortable using something on their hands while they're sleeping. So we give them the option to wear it as a clip. Also, we tend to avoid charging because that means interruption in the usage. So we always kind of, there's always a struggle between design and technology, where to compromise a bit, but design is definitely an important part of our innovation, maybe the most important one.
Yeah, also same for you, Eric. I think you have also a background with IDEO, so that's also probably why you really focus on design.
Yeah, I think IDEO is, if you don't know, it's a major design firm, and one of our other co-founders had worked from it's a user-centric design. So I think everyone here on this stage has gone through what it means to be a user. We don't design products just because we like to design products. We really look at the user pain points. And that is a challenge very often when you're in a wearable space, because users want everything. They want it to do anything. Our customer support people are saying, no, it can't, pay your parking tickets. I mean, it really is incredible what people's imagination will come up with, but you got to refine it down to what you're going to make as a good experience, and then you test the hell out of it to make sure it is a good experience, and then you roll it out to the market. And that's the process I think that works best, especially when you're building something that's so personal like a wearable.
So would you say that your wearable is really changing our life? I mean, and like really in terms of triggering a behavior change with users? Urska, maybe you start.
Yeah, so I think that's the main goal of a wearable or a health tracking system, to change your life. So I think we're going from the first phase where it was mostly focused on, companies like ours were mostly focused on getting reliable data to the app. So create wearables or devices that can track continuously really good data. And now we're going into second phase where we're finding ways on how to use that data to transform the user's life beyond just the motivation, or beyond keeping them accountable for their own behavior. So at Bellabeat, we see a lot of potential in health coaching through the app. So we're using our software, our data algorithms, to adjust the content that we provide to our user, that will help them guide them through towards a better well-being. So through exercise, through hydration tips, through nutrition tips. So that is not currently available yet, but that's something that we're building and that we think is the future of a company like Bellabeat.
Is that also the strategy for motivating users to use it actually all the time? Because I have the problem, I use it like 4 weeks, and then I'm like kind of, I've used the Nike Fuel Band, I've used the app, I have a Fitbit, so what do you do in terms of that?
Yeah, I think partially it's motivation to wear a device that constantly reminds you of you having to do something for yourself, but also like the allegiance, like being part of the movement. So I think the key part of this is the brand as well. So people obviously like to identify with brands that they believe in, or that have a good mission. So I think that's why at Bellabeat we invest so heavily in brand building, community building, so that women feel part of something much bigger than just going to the gym every day or something like that.
Lina, I think you're really special with Ovi, changing women's life, right?
Well, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to that's always the big challenge, what you just said, to really kind of get the user to insert data or to get data on a really regular basis. And of course, it's probably easier when you wear like a tracker. But what we experience with Ovi is that the women, they have such a need. So when you speak to a woman who really wants to have a baby, then she really does everything to kind of, make her dream come true. And that is why we get a lot of traction every day in the app. Same with all the women who are tired of taking taking the pill, for example, there's not many options out there. So, you know, it's health data, and that is what our benefit is, that they're really eager to track it every single day. And yeah, so we are lucky that like this group really kind of, we get a lot of insights and a lot of great information about what they do, yeah.
And I also read if I adapt my life to the hormonal phases, I'm like more, how do you say that, more active? Is that right?
Yeah, that's so interesting. That is something we're looking into right now, and that is definitely on our future roadmap. So what we have done is we have just launched like a prototype in the app, which is called OV Care, and which tells you how to train and eat according to your cycle phases. And so what women experience, for example, around like the day of ovulation, they are a lot more active. I just had a conversation earlier with a woman who said to me, look, my personal trainer, he has a special program for me when I come on my period, because I'm always so weak. And that's true. Like when you listen to your body and you track that for a while, you'll experience it. And you should really use, you know, the time when you're more active and, you know, where you can perform even better. Yeah.
It's, I think, really interesting, or really important to listen to your body. Eric, how do you motivate your users?
So I mentioned earlier that we don't count steps as like everyone else. I think it's important to differentiate yourself a little bit in the market when you're coming out with a wearable. We really looked at what is actually considered a measure that's recognized in World Health Organization, the Center for Disease Control, and a bunch of organizations that have acronyms I can't remember, have said 150 minutes a week of active heightened heart rate is what counts. So our goal in our app is to motivate people to get those 150 minutes or more if you want to set it for more, but at least 150 minutes of going out and doing something. And we set that as a goal for a week and not by a day, so that if you miss it one day, you can actually roll that over to the next day. But at the end of the week, if you didn't get those 150 minutes, you should really go out and do something pretty active. And that's really what we try to motivate people to do. I think the connection that we might have to some other products that might be out there in the future, and like I said, through HealthKit and other platforms, may also provide that data to people who might want to use it for other purposes. And so that's something we're not even defining just yet. We're going to say we're going to make the data available, and then the users can see how they want to use it.
I know you showed it earlier in your slides, Eric, but however, do you think that wearables might be able to replace a doctor one day?
So I don't think, just like a car needs a mechanic, I don't think you're always going to need a doctor to go in and kind of tell you what's wrong with you. There's a company called Ford in the US that you go into Ford, you stick your hand in this machine, they scan you and they tell you what's wrong. And they use a bunch of wearable technology to identify and track you between your doctor visits. And so they're already going there. The doctor still needs that data, and their smart analytics of what's going on tells you, okay, I'm seeing this data, this is what we should look out for.
What do you think, Lina?
Well, in our market, that's interesting. I think it can be possible at some day, but that is like a really, really, really long way to go. But what we experience from our users is, for example, that we help them make the whole gynecologist visit a lot easier, because they collect the data with our app and they get reports on a regular basis, and they basically just take their cycle reports to the gynecologist, and then the gynecologist can take a look at it and see what's going on. So when a woman has like irregular cycles and she really wants to have a baby, the doctor can actually see what's going on. So we make the whole process more efficient, and she can probably save some time right now. But that's for now. In the future, maybe. But we probably need some robotics.
Just a quick question for my interest. What's your background, by the way? Did you study medicine or?
No, actually no. We have a big advisory board, including the Fertility Center of Hamburg, and 2 doctors involved. But my background is from media, so I study journalistics, so I'm not from the field, but we have a lot of support.
Okay. Urska, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's generally like the value of data that wearables or health tech like ours is collecting has been recognized so far in terms of giving you a background on your health history when you go to the healthcare provider. So initially, before we started Bellabeat, we were working on a remote patient monitoring system for prenatal care. So that's how we actually learned a lot about women's health and what kind of technology is needed for simple checkups, or what kind of measurements are important for women once they enter the professional healthcare system. So we kind of are working towards that to have reliable quality data sets that can be then used at the end in that purpose. Currently, we don't have any integration with professional healthcare providers, but I think in the future that is maybe inevitable. Yeah.
So personalization has become a big buzzword, especially in the fashion industry. Are there any thoughts in terms of that at Bellabeat? So is there going to be like a jewelry leaf edition one day?
Yeah, personalization has always been on my mind, on our mind when we are designing our products, because obviously you want them to be as much integrated into your style as possible. So for now, you can replace basically all the parts on our products and change them for different materials or colors, like the clips and bracelets, and then different colors of rubber wraps for your bottle. But I think, of course, that is going to go further and further. So we see ourselves launching different kind of jewelry lines that simultaneously, so not just have one core product that you can use whether you like it or not, but have a variety of products you can pick from that basically use the same technology.
Lina, do you have any thoughts about personalization?
Well, with our product, it comes just as a normal basal thermometer right now. In terms of personalization, we obviously offer the women through our shop system to create their bundles of what they need. So we have another 10 products in the market, including organic tampons, heat patches against PMS, ovulation tests, pregnancy tests, and so on and so on. So they can basically personalize what their specific need is, and then we're going to send it out. But in terms of the product itself, we are not planning right now. But it's a medical product, what it needs to be is it needs to be reliable, and of course it needs to be good looking. And to try to really put a lot of focus on design. But yeah, for now we are happy that we've made it, that we launched one hardware. So, but yeah.
Eric, when can I buy the ring in purple?
Yeah, so I mentioned this also earlier, and it's the personalization we're really excited about. Yeah, we can make different colors, and I think we're going to be seeing all sorts of different styles. But it's the data that's going to belong to you, and it's going to be who you are. And I think it's going to be really cool when you do something that's totally obscure that no one else is doing, and we can identify that because it's trained on you, and that data knows who you are. We already have, in testing, been able to identify some pretty unique experiences of people, and we can see that data reoccurring over time, and then we can say, okay, that's what we think it is. And I think that's really when it becomes you and personal to you, and it's not just about the style, but also about what type of data we're collecting that's really refined to you.
So since we are in Germany, I have to ask that question. Let's talk about data. Wearables generate and collect a lot of data, and what's your point of view regarding privacy? Yeah, so I don't know how many of you guys use Gmail. I mean, it's kind of one of those things, right? And we were talking earlier to someone else here, a speaker, and we were saying how it's really eerie. Like when I was here and flying to Europe, I typed in Munich and airport, and all of a sudden I see all these ads for Munich hotels, and it's interesting how pervasive and persuasive the ads are that are really targeted towards me because of my experience on just Gmail. And I think it's going to be something we're going to have to work through. The data we're collecting we can tell when people, we even have it in our app, we can tell people when they're having sex. And so you also can connect our app to other people who can then see your data if you choose. And so you can be with your partner, and your partner can say, oh, who were you with last night? So there's that level of transparency that is available if people want to go there, but I think there has to be controls on it that people feel comfortable with that before it goes there. You told me last night that you want to start in Germany next year. Do you think Europe is too regulated? No, I think we are already looking at what's required for FDA in the US, and I think that's the next level up, and that will be a step back for us to be able to do everything. So it's really the FDA and being able to be, FDA is the food, be able to be medically approved in the US. And that's when it really gets to be a benchmark for us. So, yeah. Lina, you're collecting very, very intimate data. So what's your take on privacy?
Yes, definitely, and that's a big topic always. So what the challenge is that on one hand we offer an app for free, which is like really highly developed with a really thoughtful algorithm and a lot of time we spend in there on it, and then you have the data, which is so sensitive. I mean, women tell us actually when they get pregnant, they tell us, you know, when they had sex and so on. So yeah, we do take it very serious. What we've done so far is that we looked at specific data sets and developed a product range, which we now offer to our users, just as an example, for example, we had like users tracking that they were taking painkillers just like, you know, one day before they came on their period, which is not necessary because heat will, you know, reduce cramps as well. So that's how we came up with heat patches, for example, just to give you an idea of how we use the data. But then otherwise we don't. It's all with the user, and you know, that's necessary, I think. And this will be the future when it comes to medical products.
And you probably also need to install a lot of security, right?
Yeah, we do have a lot of. We do have someone who's really looking after it and who's really eager to protect everything. We also have a partner feature, which you just said, but the woman can actually pick what data she wants to share with her partner. That's interesting when they want to have a baby, for example. But apart from that, everything is protected and no one can actually have access to it.
Urska, what's your take on privacy?
Yeah, I mean, obviously very similar. I mean, we take protection very seriously in terms of internal protocols, but then also I think it's a kind of weird situation when, as users, we do like personalization. We like everything to be served to us within the software. Obviously, even with ads, we like them to be selling us things that we like, so we get quick access to things, right? So in Bellabeat, how we're using your data is try to match it with content that is adjusted to your level of fitness readiness or your time in period cycle, so that we can offer you exercises or nutritional advice that is relevant to you personally. So obviously when we're doing that, we have to be very careful that we don't invade anyone's privacy. But obviously that's based on algorithms and analyzing big sets of data, so it's not actually checking into like personal phones of people.
We're unfortunately out of time. My last question is about the future. How are we gonna, you talked about how are we gonna track our health in 2 years. What about our health tracking in 10 years? Are we all gonna be cyborgs? Are we talking about wearables as a word anymore? Or are we just having all wearing a digital tattoo underneath our skin? What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I'll make it quick. You guys will all be wearing wearables for sure. I know many of you are, but everyone in the world will be wearing a wearable in the next 10 to 20 years. It's going to be, even in developing countries, the data is just too invaluable. It's just like having a car today and not having that data and trying to figure out what's wrong with it. I think there's so much potential for this data in developing countries as well. And it's just going to be really cheap. It's going to be so cheap to add these sensors and to create devices that there are going to be all sorts of patches and things that people are going to be able to do for very specific uses as well. So I think that's going to happen, and everyone's going to be looking at wearables as something that's just going to be, oh yeah, I have a phone that connects to the internet. Of course, you know, I have a patch on my shoulder that's telling me I've got my heartbeat at this rate or something like that.
Lina, what do you think? Any more contraceptive pills out there on the market?
I hope so. Well, that's definitely the goal. But yeah, definitely we're probably going to come up with other hardware devices depending on what women want in the future. But I agree, the future is definitely, in the future we'll definitely see a lot of people wearing wearables because that makes the whole life easier and more efficient to my eyes.
Urska, you got the last word.
Yeah, definitely. I think it might. They won't necessarily be called wearables because maybe the technology will take different form factors, and that's. Sorry.
So thank you. No more wearables. I hate that word.
So I think that's what we're excited about, like the form factors and different possibilities of how to integrate technology into your life. But yes, definitely, data will be being collected nonstop, basically. And you will be wrapped into this kind of technology in very soon, I guess. We already are.
Okay, so time's up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And enjoy the FitTech Summit.